Hey, I'm on now.
Yo, Richard, what's good?
Uh, right now I'm watching a documentary about something called The Villages, which is a massive housing development in Florida for like 100,000 retired people. And they all live in like single family homes and golf all day.
Oh yeah,
And
tough life.
it's like it's funny because it's it's definitely like such a dark it's like a dark themed documentary where it's sort of like showing the impact that like a sprawling community like that of like so many people has on like the local water table, the local community. Like the villages is like actively like buying up a lot of land and just expanding indefinitely. And it's a lot of like people sitting around watching like Fox News and uh going to like dance classes and golfing and a lot of the comments on the video are just like people being like, yeah, no one after this generation is going to be able to afford to retire, so we're literally watching like the final people retiring ever.
Well, we can still retire if we, invest properly. But
Yeah,
based
if
off,
the
yeah, with the little bit of financial knowledge
yeah.
that people do get, it's not enough. Like you really got to take your finances in your own hands.
Mm. It'll be interesting to see if the what happens to the economy. Like I feel like I've got like the right education if the numbers stay the same as they've historically been, and I wonder if would that sort of, would the American economy go flat at some point, and then it would just not, the 8% growth like of the economy on average would just go to zero, or something like that, and or say inflation goes to like 20% a year, then that wipes out any profits. I wonder if something like that would. It seems like possible given just all the issues, like all the spending we might have to do on climate and like losing the land and uh I don't know, yeah, any number of other things that might require like drastic measures at some point that just erase any sort of profits or something like that, or say like a handful of corporations like soak up all the extra wealth or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, it's something that's like impossible to predict. It's just kind of like interesting to try to like insulate ourselves against that and then just like ride out, try to ride out whatever happens.
Never thought about that. Yeah, I mean, Canada's already is hurting pretty bad as it is.
Yeah, I feel like if there was like a massive depression, there'd be a point where everybody who can like afford to like buy the dip might, you know, might have to wait like 10 years of poverty and then they would come out all right. But then like anybody who can't afford to buy the dip would just be like totally wiped out, and that would maybe just exacerbate the already massive like wealth gap that there is. So maybe it's sort of just like a everyone trying to like get ready for like sort of some kind of collapse where half the population, or like 10% of the population profits off the collapse and the other half gets totally wiped out.
Hmm.
But I don't know, I'm just guessing based on that's my extremely pessimistic guess based on all the info. I found actually a guy that's quite clever. His name's like Cory Doctorow, and he's like he writes like science fiction novels among other things, and like he'll do like actual like factual like article writing on some stuff that's going on. Like I don't know, he'll cover like Supreme Court judges taking bribes or companies trying to like spin the laws into their favor, or there's this idea of like antitrust law that used to be like maybe 1960-ish. We had like good antitrust law that said like no company could have too much power over the market, and then as a side thing like a bunch of people were in unions. But then fast forward like 40 years and antitrust law is kind of like letting us down because people are like eroding it, and so like a small number of companies can really take over and get a lot of power and political power, and not there's like almost no union membership anymore, so there's no like defense against corporations like overstepping. But this guy like writes in like a lot of detail and like specifics about like play by play, like what is happening and how it's working. And then he also he'll write these like science fiction novels of like a negative future or a positive future. And then his current articles just kind of like cover like exactly sort of what we should be hoping for to try to like get ourselves. His focus right now seems to be on getting like a better internet. Like right now there's so many ads online, and a lot of the internet traffic is like funneled to these like, you know, Facebook or other websites. And he's trying to figure out a path, which he's kind of successfully doing. He's like laying out a path for like how we could get to a more fair internet where sites like cooperate and the information we need is like findable and not covered in ads. It's kind of it was, and then he has a podcast too. Every week on his podcast, he like reads one of his articles or something like that, or a chapter from one of his books, and it's a pretty cool podcast. It's like very information dense.
Yeah, send me the link afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm always
So
up for learning.
what have you been? Oh yeah, you've been journaling.
Yeah, it was every day, and then you know I just do when I feel like it. But I have it. It's in the open, so I have that visual prompt, and you know I write when I have something to say, when I have thoughts that I want to put down, and sometimes it's 2 lines, and sometimes it's a page. Sometimes I'll write twice a day, depending how I'm feeling. But you know, I don't know. I think it's helping me because, you know, given that it's November, I'm in really good spirits. Now, I mean, I made some changes. Like I'm getting up when the sun's up and going for a walk and eating well and being active, and you know, I have good company, so I'm not like isolated or alone like I was. But for November, I'm usually afraid of November because uh, you know, it's usually a dark
Sunlight.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost a dark time. But I'm reading. Just crushed a book, The Hormone Diet, which builds off of the other book that I've read that covered hormones and the zone diet and anti-aging. And now I'm going to crush a book, Atomic Habit. And then I'm going to work on the ab diet, which I imagine is going to be, again, looking at hormones and, you know, balancing of macronutrients. But
I wonder if so is that a diet to get like abs? Is that what you said?
just to be able to see your six pack, yeah.
I wonder if
Essentially,
it's. Do you think that in order to get like that kind of muscle tone, is it possible to do it while not sacrificing something like mental health? Like, do you have to like sort of like does working out to a certain level or dieting, like does that place like stress or pressure on one's like emotional state or something? Or do you think that you can like achieve like some kind of look that's like more like, you know, beyond like better than steady state or something, while also sort of like not taking a toll on mental health or something like that?
yeah, it's a big question, and you know, it really depends on the person. If they're getting a six pack because they're dealing with trauma from being bullied and any extra weight on them, they perceive themselves as ugly. And I mean, even if they have a nice, you know, belly and, you know, a good body fat percentage, and they consider themselves ugly and fat, then you know, that's right there already stressful. That's adding stress, additional cortisol, and it's actually going to hinder any progress that they're trying to make to shred that extra weight. Because when we have excessive cortisol, we get weight gain in the midsection, and other hormonal imbalances lead to weight gains in different areas, but also the abdominal area. So, like right off the bat, like if they're negative and they're beating themselves up and they think that they need to have the six pack to be loved, then they're already in a bad spot. But if they're working towards it because it's just a goal that they have. They want to get to that point to see if they can do it, and they have a positive mindset. And they have the knowledge to know how to get there because there's so much misinformation out there. And we're surrounded by foods that make us sick, and we're surrounded by products that have toxins in them, and we don't know. And all these things add up to make us sick and to impact our hormones. And I mean, that book is a huge eye opener too, because the first book that I read, The Anti-Aging Zone, it covered the hormones, macronutrients, and touched on healthy lifestyle. This book looks at sort of the same stuff, but not as deep into the biochem, deep into the hormones. There's some, I mean, this hormone does that, this hormone does that, but it's not how it's synthesized and its secondary messengers and all that other stuff. It's not as in depth. I have more of an understanding of hormones from the first book than the second book. But the second book covers all these other things, like the need for supplements because their soils have been overfarmed, and minerals, and how we're lacking that. So supplements includes minerals, but also other things. And it covers the toxin piece, which, I've got that from a documentary I watched on Netflix. I think it was called Scent or Poisons. I don't remember exactly, but basically anything scented throughout is what I got from it. And I ended up making changes. Even now, minimalist, barely have anything. I'm like, oh shit. Well, like anything with dye in it can have carcinogens. That can leach plastic containers for your condiments, can leach plastic, microplastics into what it is you're eating. So like go glass or go steel kind of thing. I replaced all my my cleaning supplies to be non-toxic. And I know I'm a bit of a tangent here, but it's I'm focused and working towards I'm making all these little micro adjustments, kind of like from the book there, Atomic Habits. I'm doing all these 1% changes to get me on the path to getting that six pack, getting lean, because otherwise your hormones are working against you. So mental health does play a huge part in this, but mental health is tied to so many different things. I mean, if you're dealing with trauma, or if you're not sleeping properly, or if you have too much stress, or you have a lack of boundaries in your relationships, like the ones that you have, they're overstepping. Well, that's kind of linked to stress, but yeah, it's like you have to have the mental health piece in check. Yeah, you gotta have you have to have things in control, because you can control your lifestyle. You can make changes to get out of a stressful lifestyle. For others, it's going to be more difficult, but you have to want to change your situation. You have to know that it's off. And it's like me leaving the military, for instance. Any and everything to do with the military is toxic to me. It makes me sick. Putting on the uniform makes me sick and brings me shame.
Yeah.
And so so I'm like, I've had to, force myself away from that. And I took sick leave for a month, because every time I go on my email, I'm just reminded of the bureaucracy. And I got to that point because Veterans Affairs Canada, they gave me a 5% reward, which is like $20,000 for 2 life-changing injuries to my spine. And it was such a huge smack to the face that I've lost all desire to work. And, I could have wallowed in self-pity and, cried. I mean, I did have a tailspin for about a week. Like, I was not good. I just basically just took a break. But then I go back on the horse and I'm like, I'm not going to accept this. I'm going to fight it, and I'm going to not work and serve anymore. I'm going to pull away. So I'm making changes to change my environment, so I don't have to deal with that shit anymore. So I'm taking control. And I'm saying all this because I'm in my mind, as I say it, I'm realizing that there's people that aren't as well off, that may be struggling, even just putting food on the table. But there are things that we can do that are in our control. We just need to want it enough to make those changes. And part of it's just like realizing that there's a problem, like what's causing the problem. And it wasn't really until I worked with my psychologist that I realized military is the problem and I need to eliminate it. And I was scared to do so, and I did so. So I'm trying to, in a roundabout way, answer your question. And I mean, it's such a big question that it's like, I'm trying to hit every part of it. But I think that like the mental health piece, like, has to be, you have to get a hold on it by having a healthy lifestyle. And by making those changes, you won't see the effects at first. But again, this is this atomic habits thing. Like, I love it. It just aligns with the path that I'm taking. You make these changes, and eventually you'll start to see your hormones balance out. You start to see like your energy levels going up, and you want to go to bed by 9 or 10 p.m. and wake up at 5 or 6 naturally. That you don't have restless nights, that you're not up pissing at 3 in the morning, or you're up because you had a cortisol spike because your cortisol is already so high, and you do have spikes throughout. I think it was like 3 and 5, like it starts to increase. And when you get a grip on all of this stuff, then you have the conditions, the foundation to shred weight, to get to your optimal weight. And I'm just realizing now that the piece that was missing was the habit building piece. And now that I know about habits, and by making those 1% changes, that is just, I think, the final piece to the puzzle that I need to get that 6-pack, to be able to shred off all this extra weight. So I think anybody can do it. I mean, I really do. And I have a whole bunch of like different scenarios in my mind. Like, someone has cancer, someone has hypothyroidism, someone has diabetes. Like, I'm thinking about these people, and first of all, address the disease and solve that issue, because it's taking away like all your bandwidth. But once you get that under control, it is possible to shred off the extra weight, to get relatively healthy again, and to prevent further disease. It just comes down to living a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately, like, let's say someone does all the right stuff and they don't see like the result, the weight loss, then they still can be declared like a winner if, like if they're happy and they are doing the correct steps to like maintain their happiness. And if it just for whatever reason is not like delivering the results that they hoped, I feel like it should still be true that like the fact that they are doing the process is, like the reward is just maybe is nice, it's an indication that you're doing the right process. But like if the reward never actually arrives, I feel like it's good if someone can get to a state where the process itself, like the habits they have, the process that they're doing itself is making them feel happy, and such that they don't, implode if the reward never arrives, on schedule or ever. It's I feel like that's a true solid routine, is if no reward is necessary, like the routine is the reward itself or something.
Yeah, but realistically, we need to see the progress, and I get that. But we want instant gratification. We want to see results instantly. It doesn't work that way when it comes to the body. I mean, if it happens, it's because it's unnatural. If you shred a ton of weight or gain a ton of weight rapidly, or you lose all your hair, or there's like some sort of drastic change that I just can't think of right now, but that happens. I mean, that's unhealthy. That's not supposed to happen. I mean, changes are usually gradual and over time. Now, we can put on weight rapidly if we eat a tremendous amount of food. But we're not going to go from like lean to super obese eating the same thing that we're eating, or maybe eating just a tiny bit more. I mean, you would have to overwhelm your system, get insulin resistant, and put cortisol through the roof, and just like completely destroy all of your hormonal balances to get to that point. And it is a gradual thing. You might feel like all of a sudden it's rapid, But what about all the years before that moment in time of where you're drinking caffeine all throughout the day, you're not sleeping? Maybe you might be getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. You're super stressed about making ends meet, and you're working 12-hour days, no time for yourself, and you're just eating garbage because that's what happens when you're in that state. And you might have been okay. Your metabolism, because of your genetics, might have been, holding out, and you might have maintained your weight. But then all of a sudden, your insulin resistance gets to the point where it's like you're fucked, and all your hormones are so unbalanced. It's like your body just starts to store it, even with an ectomorph. I mean, people are like, ectomorphs are like, oh, I never can gain weight. You throw off your hormones enough, and eventually you start affecting your thyroid, you're going to be gaining weight. Like it's not good. And also, too, I mean, like ectomorphs. You're an ectomorph, aren't you?
Yeah, I've always found that. Like I think I've been 150 pounds for as long as I can remember. Once, like maybe in high school, I went from like 120 to 150, and just anything I've done has always I've remained that weight, I guess.
Yeah, but you used to eat a whole bunch of candy bars and garbage.
Yeah,
You're not,
definitely. Like it was insane actually. What like when we were on that course in Borden, I would literally fill like a desk drawer with like chocolate bars and then they'd all be gone by like the end of the weekend. And I was like shocked myself with like how am I going through like an entire like small drawer, like cutlery drawer of like chocolate and stuff. And how is that not like I guess I feel like I did have some emotional swings at some point, and so like it
yeah,
did manifest in some bad ways. But I guess my weight did not seem to be affected by that those surges of stuff.
thank goodness, because you didn't become insulin resistant. I'm surprised, but you didn't get
Oh,
diabetes
that
or
too.
any sort of. So if you did, though, you're not going to be in good shape, and that disease cascades into
Yeah.
other things too. So yeah,
I think the worst like I keep asking my doctor about my kidneys because one doctor I had, they told me like my kidneys could do better, like they're not filtering perfectly, but it's like, but another doctor told me it's like nothing to worry about. It's just like normal, but not ideal. But uh, that's something I've been interested in. Like I guess for a period of time, maybe like in high school ish and stuff, I didn't drink like enough water, I guess, and so I feel like uh, my kidneys could use like more water more regularly.
then do
But I,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a super important macronutrient. I mean, I'd consider
yeah.
water a macronutrient.
But then
Uh,
too much water, I end up having you have to like definitely have to add like sodium or something, some kind of mix in so that you don't like wash out basically all your electrolytes is what I found when I started trying to drink more water.
yeah, but I'd caution you on that because a lot of the electrolytes, the additives have like too much shit that you don't need. And say if they have
Yeah.
like carbohydrates by themselves or sugars or whatever
Mm.
else or additives or sweeteners or all that stuff, then you're looking at toxins. And like having just carbs by itself, you should always pair your macronutrients. You should always have balance when you consume something. So try to consume all macronutrients. Like if you're gonna have a snack, like the only time you really want to
Plants
exclude,
stuff.
yeah, the only time you want to exclude fat from a meal is like right after a workout. You just want proteins and
Yeah.
carbs. Fats slow things down. And I'll have to dig into the biochem on that again, but before a workout or in any of your other meals, you want to have the protein, you want to have the fat, you want to have the carbohydrates, pair with water as well, like every meal. But like if you just have these electrolytes with water and you're just having carbs, I mean, or just the additives, I would avoid the
Yeah.
electrolyte pouches altogether. You eat balanced meals, you'll be okay. You're not going to drink water to the point of getting sick. That's just stupid. Your body will tell you when you've had enough. I crush a lot of tea and I piss a lot, man, like a lot. And I'm not worried about my electrolytes
Yeah.
being thrown off. I don't have any of those issues. So, I mean, for you, I'd probably aim for about like 10 to 12 cups a day. I know you're a bit more active.
Yeah, when I
Um,
am more active, yeah, there's like I think it was like 100, like 80 to 100 ounces, was it, or something like that? Or is that maybe I'm thinking of the wrong? Maybe it's milliliters or something like that.
I don't work in ounces.
Yeah, I'm not sure which. I remember I had like a large jug at some point that was like the right amount. I had a question
Which
about
is great.
hormones though, because
Yeah,
like
what?
I don't know, like I've never studied biology or like taken much chemistry, and so I have no like grounding in these kind of things. But uh, I guess I was thinking like could you measure someone's hormones by
Yep,
a blood test, and
absolutely.
then but then could you like basically you looking at the level of hormones, and then are you just is there like a correct level? Is it based on the person's weight, or like is it just there's a correct level for everybody? Is it like, is there several different hormones that you'll get readings for, or is there like one level like for a man and a woman? Is there two, is it like men hormones, women hormones, and
Yes. Yeah,
yeah, there's
different sex
levels.
hormones for men and women for sure.
And then what
Um,
actually, other than like our mood, like our hormones, I guess like they're very, I guess they're very like I've heard so many different angles of them and how they're intertwined with stuff. And if
they
they're
are.
off, I guess like it affects our mood among many other things.
Yep.
Uh, and so then like, but like where do they, I guess I don't have any context for like where they come from. Like, I guess something, some of the stuff we eat, our body breaks down and then translates into them and then emits them. And like,
So our
why,
organs.
yeah.
So I haven't mastered this yet, but like the sex organs, ovaries for the women and
Oh, right.
scrotum,
Yeah.
not scrotum, the testes for the male. I mean, that's I don't think that's the only place testosterone's produced in
But if
males
you have,
because
can you be like, if you just don't have that organ and you don't produce hormones, are you like you basically you'll die if you don't take like artificial hormones? Is that essentially the situation you'd be in, or is it possible to like not have any hormones and somehow be healthy, or like they're not
mm,
needed?
mm, mm. So I'm
Like
sure there's studies on this,
yeah.
but
So,
just taking an educational guess, I'm going to say you need to balance it out. So like women who have menopause, you just ask them on how fucking horrible it is because their estrogen levels start to drop.
hmm.
Libido, uh, vaginal dryness, skin sagginess, hot flashes, mood, can't sleep. There's so many symptoms, and I can't even remember them all. And it's because of their sex hormones are off, and they
And if
have they
so
have
they do
to
they
they
take them.
need to, and they don't. They get sick. And I've just heard like you know um,
But
friend's
is that in
mom.
every does every so every woman does experience menopause, I guess, at some point in their
Yes,
life.
yeah.
And
When
then
they
but it's I guess it's a question though of like how severe will the symptoms be, and
yeah,
does every I guess some people may not have any symptoms. But do those people like do you think if they have no symptoms and they're fine, that's because the menopause is still like after menopause they're still producing some hormones?
I don't know.
Or they're
I
I
don't
wonder
know of
about
any
that.
women. I haven't looked into this any great depth. Like where like are there women that don't experience menopause? And there might be. I mean,
And
there
for
might be the
men,
occasional.
there's no equivalent, right? Like men just
Our
produce hormones forever or something.
our testosterone goes down, our production decreases as we get older. Just it's a reality of aging. Everything kind of slows down. I mean, but yeah, it's still producing the balls. But we gotta maintain a healthy lifestyle because like the thing with testosterone, I mean, if we don't sleep well, our testosterone drops 40%, even when we're young. If we're under constant
Right.
stress, yeah, like our testosterone takes a drop as well. And the interesting thing too is like by having sex and releasing stress and having dopamine, it makes you healthier. Like it makes you feel better.
Oh, is
Helps you.
dopamine a hormone?
Yeah, and it. One sec. There's something that's coming up on my mind that's right off the bat. I want to say yes. There was one thing where maybe
Is
it's
there
where
like
it's
a lot of them?
produced. Dopamine.
Like I heard, yeah, I guess like estrogen, testosterone, and dopamine. That's maybe the only three things I've heard of. And now I guess as we talked, it's possible that dopamine, I guess, is a hormone in the
Excellent
category.
areas of the brain to give you feelings of pleasure, satisfaction, motivation. Yes, plays a role controlling memory, mood, sleep, movement, other bodily functions. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a role in pleasure. So neurotransmitter molecule that plays. Why isn't the word hormone coming up?
Do you have like a ballpark? Like, what is the total number of hormones as like a ballpark number? Like, is it like 3 or is it like more than 10 or something?
Okay, so dopamine is a type of neurotransmitter and hormone, plays a role in important body
I wonder
functions.
actually now, what is it? What does a thing need to do to be considered a hormone? Like,
It
I wonder what that
communicates.
thing is.
So a hormone is a signal that's sent from an organ in your body to your cells to perform some sort of function. It's like an execution, almost like when you try to
And like
execute a
not, I guess
subroutine.
not all of them are for the brain. Maybe there's like, I
No,
guess
no, no. There's
neurotransmitters brain specific.
so number of hormones in the human body. I'm going to answer that question first. 50 hormones, over 50 more, over 50. So, so you get different organs, and so you have your hypothalamus, you have your thyroid, which produces your thyroid hormones, which controls metabolism, and just generally speaking, you have
Well, that's
your
kind of cool, actually. Now I'm thinking of like, as you've said, hormones are like a communicator thing, and that's actually kind of
yeah,
neat that like this is now filling in a gap for me, like how the body communicates internally. I guess the answer is hormones, and that's kind of neat that it's got a little communication system.
yeah. Okay, so we have the hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, the parathyroids, adrenals, which are adrenal gland is above the pancreas or above the kidneys. You have penile body, the ovaries, the testes. Those are the organs. I'm just trying to look at the. So there's the pancreas, adrenal. Are those the kidneys? Where are the kidneys in this? Adrenal. So the pineal gland and the pituitary gland are in the brain. Thyroid is in the throat. Thymus is sort of like mid chest area. That one I'm not too familiar with. But yeah, you get your pancreas for insulin, and I'm just trying to figure out where adrenal glands. I thought it was on your kidneys. Looks like it. Adrenal gland. And this is something I want to master. I want to understand like the where it flows, how it flows, the precursors that are required to synthesize each hormone. Because I got that from the first book. But, I was like learning Chinese. It was nuts. Adrenal glands located on.
Yeah, it seems like it's hard. It would be hard to keep it below like getting a full like medical degree. Like because at some point the whole system is like
Kidney.
people study it for like many years or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in doing that. I'm going to start off, I think, with naturopath because I want to help people. And, with my naturopath practice, I want to look at hormones and focus on that. Very much like this this doctor did with the book. Like, I basically want to preach that. But I also want to pursue my own parts because that book didn't cover everything. That book
Yeah, I wonder.
was missing.
Naturopath is a tricky area because I've heard a lot of like, I don't know, like the word naturopath for me sets off a lot of like alarm flags of like people have said that, like because I guess it's a field of medicine that's not regulated, and many times they sort of claim that like maybe over the counter drugs or quote unquote natural things can, like let's say like cure cancer or whatever. I guess that's actually the main problem is people might go to a naturopath when they have cancer or say something serious like that,
Yeah.
and especially if the naturopath doesn't relay them to an actual doctor, it could delay the treatment they need. And I think that's where we run into problems where
Yes.
people burn money or time when they actually need like real and that's a tricky area, I guess, because like a lot of people don't end up with their actual doctor, or they overly trust the naturopath. And if somebody's like, you have like a trust relationship with someone and they're paying you money, then it starts to get like very like you may have to advise them to stop paying you essentially, which is like a tricky situation to be in and like handle like in an ethically correct way, I guess. And that's so it's like a slippery.
Yeah.
It's hard to walk that line like. But it's
Don't
almost
fuck.
like the word like life coach comes to mind. Like I feel like that's actually something I wish was a bigger service. Was like I could hire a life coach and they would essentially like advise me in all areas, but also diet and stuff like that. And then it would be
Yeah.
more like, do any sort of real difference they could do. But I wouldn't want to get too much into like the magical cures, that have like less evidence or something.
Yeah. So first off, I want to say with regards to cancer, you don't go to a natural path for cancer. All right, like you want to nuke that shit as soon as possible. You have out of control program that's wreaking havoc on your system, that's spreading uncontrollably and consuming resources at rates that your body can't keep up. Like it kills you, as we know. Cancer kills you. You need to kill it as soon as you possibly can by whatever measure necessary. And we have obviously the very invasive measures like surgery, chemo, whatever. You don't fuck around with cancer. That's the result of too many toxins, probably poor lifestyle, too much inflammation in the body, too much like maybe an autoimmune issue, like whatever the cause is, there's an underlying reason to that, and I heavily suspect it's linked to lifestyle choices and also the environment that you're in. Yeah, so there's
It's
that
surprising
piece.
though when did you ever hear that like Steve Jobs spent
Yeah, he came
quite
to
a
mind.
while.
That's why he
Yeah,
died.
it's interesting when someone has like they're an intelligent person, they have a lot of money behind them, they have a lot of advisors, but they sort of take the wrong path for a long enough time that, it actually may have had an effect on the length of their life or something. And it's
Yeah,
pretty crazy that like imagine like if you were like the guy helping Steve Jobs and he's paying you like a lot of money and it's a high prestigious thing. It would be quite challenging to be like, what, this is, just forget about me, go to the actual guy, like it would
that's
be
the
such
best
a
thing.
tense. Yeah,
That's the
because
best thing that
yeah,
that person could have done for him.
yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's hard to imagine like a human being capable of such a thing, like because they of course may even come to believe themselves, like they may have had many patients before that they believe they helped, and it might have been a case of like spontaneous like disappearance, and so they might believe that, oh, it worked last time, let's try it again, and then yeah,
there might be a
yeah.
way. There might be a way, a natural way for your body to like recognize the cancer and annihilate it. There might be a way to create the conditions for that while it's like not as aggressive. But you just, I don't know. I don't know for sure. What I do know is that our methods, the aggressive methods that we have, work. Don't do trial
Yeah.
and error with something life threatening, right? And I do think like there's a place for the natural stuff. That's all preventative. I see natural medicine as preventative, and there is a way like it can correct hormonal imbalances. It can. There are supplements and herbs and all that stuff that can give you more energy, help you sleep, things like that, where you don't need to go to the cold, like the hard drugs or anything like that. But I see it more as preventative than, and in my mind, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I know that like natural path, before I learned about it, it just seemed like a bunch of herbs and whatever else. But it's so much more than that, and it needs to be a part of our medical system and covered by insurance, because I'm paying like hundreds, thousands of dollars to go through the process, and they're doing what the doctor should be doing, which is looking like giving you the holistic look. They're looking at your system. So I have irritable bowel syndrome. All right, I have a stressful life. What's going on with my hormones in my body? Like, do I have the right? Like, I'm losing my hair, let's say, and I'm shedding rapidly, and I have other issues. Like, how's my thyroid doing? Do I have hypothyroidism? Like, I had no doctors ever mention the possibility of me having hypothyroidism when I was talking about my rapid hair loss and my weight gain and all that stuff. None of them mentioned that. None of them tested for that. It was only through my own like digging that I asked those questions. But a naturopath they look at that stuff. They look at the whole, like, what is going on with your body that's leading to this issue. Like, for instance, you got rosacea. Let's say a lot of people get rosacea. All right, I've been told a whole bunch of different stuff. We don't know what causes it. There's no cure for it. It's uncurable. It's all bullshit. They know what causes it. There's 3 reasons why it can happen. 1, the mites are out of control because your moisture barrier is fucked up. You have a neurological inflammatory issue or even autoimmune issue, which stems from likely your lifestyle choices, the environment that you're in, right? And that's exactly what happened to me. It's why I got rosacea. And guess what? It is reversible. You eliminate the imbalances in your system, you reduce stress, you bring down inflammation, and then, okay, yeah, the little vessels that are at the edge of your skin, they don't go back on their own, and that's what laser therapy is for. That gets rid of those blood vessels, they go back into your skin, and guess what, Richard? It works. It actually fucking works. My redness has been reduced by like 75-80%. I just gotta do one more dose on my nose, and I look like I did back when I was 18. And they told me it was uncurable, and they don't know the cause of it. And I just fucking showed them that they were wrong. And that's where naturopath comes. Like, that, am I saying it naturopathy? I don't really give a shit. That's where that's where that comes in. That's preventative. That's looking at the hormones. I mean, endocrinologists does this. They're specialists, but I've been to an endocrinologist, and they'll look at what your specific concern is. I'm complaining that I have low testosterone, or I think I have low testosterone. They'll check my testosterone. They may check a couple other hormones. But they don't look at everything. They don't tell me that everything is working 100%. At least they did in my case. But the naturopath individual, when you tell them all the symptoms you're going through, they're going to be like, hey, well, here's the gamut of tests that you can take. Here's the cost associated with it, which should be covered. And once we figure out what the problem is, well, then we can start doing some medicine. And we can look, and one of the things that the naturopath covered was all that lifestyle shit that I've talked about. All that
Yeah, it
lifestyle
almost
stuff.
now I'm thinking of there's almost like 3 categories, and I feel it's like actual doctors are like more on the side of you have something life threatening and they're going to fix it, and then the naturopath almost seems like in the preventative like medicine category, and then there's like the cosmetic like category, and I feel like those would be the 3, like
Yeah.
cosmetic, preventative, and uh whatever you want to call the like the act you have an actual thing that's threatening the life or something.
And here's how I see it, though. I mean, they don't cover the preventative, they don't cover the cosmetic. But here's the thing: cosmetic. Let's say, my laser therapy wasn't covered. I had to pay 1,000+ for that, right? But the psychological effects that has on you. I mean, it changes your appearance. It
It's
causes
like a yeah,
depression.
kind
It
of leads
causes
to mental health. Yeah.
hopelessness. Well, guess what? That
Yeah.
affects your body in other ways. It can lead to extra stress in the system. It makes you pull away from your social connections or not go outside and do all the stuff that really leads to a healthy lifestyle. Like, when you don't go outside, you don't get the vitamin D. You don't socialize with people because your face is literally bloody red and you're ashamed of it. You feel that shame, and there's a cascading, this effect that just ripples on to impact every other facet of your life. And you're just like, why is this not covered? Why isn't this cosmetic procedure covered that could help me look and feel better, which then makes me, want to. I'm just gonna wrap my head around it here. I actually don't get it, because by
Yeah, I feel like
correcting,
the
but by
oh yeah, go
doing
ahead.
by doing that procedure, you feel better about yourself. You're no longer stressed by this. And in the end, that is for the betterment of your health, which is what that's what healthcare is. It's there so that you can be healthy again. So why is it all just reactive medicine that is covered? And again, not even all prescriptions are covered. I still have to pay for quite a few prescriptions that I needed, but it just I'm not getting it. I don't get why that isn't a part of it. I mean, we pay enough
Well, it's weird.
taxes,
Like glasses and braces are not even covered by like
which
some
is
of the stuff.
crazy, which is nuts.
Yeah, so like the fact that like those are not even covered yet, it's like there's like a list of things that are you could sort of sort into priority order and be like, if the most obvious ones are not even covered, then we got to at least get those before we like fight our way to the to the other ones that we want covered also.
Yeah, people need to see. And with your teeth, if you don't get corrective work done on it, it can lead to other issues. Like it can mess up your bite. Like for instance, with mine, I got an overbite, and just by having an overbite, so when your teeth don't actually like land on each other, then eventually your teeth start to grow, like your gums and your teeth start to grow upward. To kind of because you have that space, because nothing is forcing them back down. And then eventually your teeth can start cutting into the top of your mouth, which can then lead to some serious issues. So it's preventative. It's what it is. I guess they just don't cover preventative medicine, which sucks. But
Yeah, I feel like even from like the perspective of like insurance companies wanting to make money, I think they are realizing that if they cover preventative stuff, it saves them money in the long run because they don't have to then pay for that person's later issues that they would not have with the preventative stuff. So I feel like there are sometimes it's like their business model just hasn't caught up yet. They haven't realized that like if everyone's healthy and paying insurance, then they never have to pay out anything, if they've just done light preventative care, basically.
and that's probably how it should be sold to them.
Yeah.
That's how it could be sold to them. If they go preventative, then they're not going to have all these additional costs down the road. Now, maybe not with the dental piece because orthodontic work is really, really costly. But when it comes to the natural path, I mean, you get someone's life in check, you can prevent diabetes. That costs the healthcare system a tremendous amount. But then, Big Pharma wants their cut, right? Big Pharma benefits from the prescribing of all these medications to treat our illness. And I think that's why there's no interest in treating preventative medicines or are paying for preventive medicine, because by doing the reactive medicine, that's where all the money is.
Yeah, I think in the States as well, it it may be true that doctors get paid like per prescription that they write. And
Yeah,
so
there's
then like,
incentives.
yeah, they'd rather write the prescription than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, that's I appreciate the chat as always.
Yeah.
We good for time?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, I'll send those links over the podcast I mentioned.
All right,
I
thanks, man.
also
I
watched
appreciate it.
I watched a movie too. I'll send that. I'll send a link as well. All right.
All
I'll
right,
see you.
take care.